Hello everyone and welcome to Kitting, addressing your shop floor challenges. Today's roundtable was inspired by Muromni Graphics' recently published Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association article, Kitting Means Having the Right Decal in the Right Place at the Right Time in the Ag Innovator. It is also available now online at www.murgraphics.com. I'm Terry Driscoll with Tekra, the leading worldwide supplier of top quality plastic films and adhesives and a manufacturer of proprietary digital and custom hard-coated plastic substrates. I'd like to start off by introducing our presenters for today, Tobbias Day and Jamie Silver.
Hi, I'm Tobbias Day. I'm Director of Quality Management at Muromni Graphics.
Hi, I'm Jamie Silver, Post-Production and Purchasing Director at Muromni Graphics.
Tobbias is an expert in industrial and fleet graphics and a frequent corporate trainer for graphics application strategies and efficiency techniques. Jamie has over a decade of experience in the printing industry. He has developed an expertise in the inspection, packaging, inventory management, purchasing, and shipping of industrial graphics. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. What different type of decal kits have either of you had requests for?
I've seen two major types of decal kits. There's variations within each type, but the one type is where the decals are kiss cut up all on one sheet. Kiss cut refers to cutting through the material substrate and not the backing of the material. So the backing is still intact and it keeps all of the sheet together, and then you've got multiple decals all up on that sheet. The other variation I've seen is where it's all in the packaging of those decals. The decals are actually manufactured separately, and then the final step is to package them into a kit with possibly a listing of what decals are in that kit, and they could all be packaged in a plastic bag as you see here, or sometimes there's specialized packaging like in this plastic container, or sometimes there's a combination of the two types I've discussed where you can see we kiss cut sheets and then package those sheets together either in a binder like this or some other type of packaging design for multiple kits in one package.
Okay. Jamie, from your experience with lean manufacturing, which type of kit would you prefer?
Well, it really depends on the manufacturer, but if I was the decal applicator, I would want everything up on one sheet. It would speed up the process and simplifying it, and once your sheet is empty, your job is complete, and you know you've done it correctly.
So Tobbias, what might you be sacrificing if you decided to modify current decals in order to produce them in a kit?
Typically, there's not a need for sacrificing the quality or the integrity of the decals that are inside of the kit. But as Jamie mentioned, a lot of manufacturers do prefer to try to put it up on one sheet, which sometimes requires a redesign, which may change the materials of some of the parts involved in the kit. Sometimes that can be a bit of a sacrifice. Other times, like if some of the decals are plastic decals or harder substrates, and we want to convert them all to the vinyl decals or polyesters, whatever would be on a sheet, it's sometimes that they were over-engineered in the first place. And if that's not needed and they work just fine as the vinyl decals, sometimes a redesign is necessary. Another thing that they may need to sacrifice is size. Sometimes if some decals are overly large and don't fit in the packaging properly, they could either consider a redesign to make them smaller, or they can consider other options that we'll discuss within the kitting process that would exclude those from the kit itself.
Okay. Jamie, what about model mix or variable build requirements?
Well, Terry, this can be accommodated by what we call a core kit. And a core kit is a packet of decals that go on most or all of the manufacturer's products. And then we take that after assembling this packet. It is packaged with like the model mix number, making it just one kit in itself.
Tobbias, what constraints do you see from a quality standpoint when you're trying to group unlike parts?
Constraints can involve materials, like we referenced in the sacrificing question. If it is really truly considered a sacrifice to change the materials, it can become a constraint in going to this type of kit specifically, where they're kiss cut up on a sheet. Involving the packaging, there's less constraints. Size can be a bit of a constraint if one of the decals is overly large, the size of this table, and all the other decals are smaller. It just becomes a challenge in design of how that's going to be packaged together sometimes, or you can also redesign the larger decal. But there's less constraint with the packaging. We can usually accommodate any materials or sizes within that.
Oh, absolutely, and that goes along with this, a little bit of this kit. We have large, long decals mixed in with much smaller ones with the tools that are needed to apply the decals.
All in one package.
All in one pack.
Excellent. Tobbias, what substrates lend themselves to kitting?
With the kits cut up all on one sheet, we typically use adhesive back materials. You'll see vinyls, polyesters, some polycarbonates, thinner vinyls or plastic materials. But with the package, there's a infinite amount of materials that could be thrown in a package together. Sometimes, if some of the parts are aluminum plates with sharp corners, there needs to be some consideration to that in the design of the packaging to make sure other parts aren't damaged. But there should be no constraints involved with that.
Okay. Jamie, what type of production line styles are good for kitting and what aren't?
I don't think there is a bad line for kitting. I think you can use kitting in any line of manufacturing. If you're in a high production line and you have multiple areas where decals would be applied, the manufacturer would have to set up some kind of cell design to accommodate the application. But overall, having kit on the line would speed up and simplify the process.
Tobbias, from a quality standpoint, how can kits be used as sort of a checkpoint?
That's actually one of the largest benefits that our clients mention with the kits. Either type of kit works well for this, but the KISS cut's more of a visual. If you've got them all up on one sheet, as I believe Jamie might have mentioned earlier, that the operator or the applicator can visually see everything on that sheet, and then they know their job isn't complete until everything is gone off the sheet. There's also room on the sheet sometimes where the decals aren't positioned. That's room for instructions or locations of where the decals go. It can be printed in the backing so that that's extra instruction to the operator. With the packages, there's usually a blueprint included that'll actually show each individual decal that's in that kit, and then as a checkpoint they could check each one off and inspect the kit, make sure everything is in it, and then use that to assure that they have applied them in the same spot. There's also room for within a kit you can package the application instructions, which helps the applicator know how to produce it. We sometimes throw squeegees in there. It gives them an extra tool, and it just helps to establish that checkpoint that they have everything they need and everything's used up when they're done with their process.
Jamie, do you see kitting boost productivity and efficiency on the shop floor?
Absolutely, Terry. The time just to pull all the parts on the build list for the manufacturer, the time on the line back and forth, so to speak, would save a tremendous amount of time. And throughout the company, the time saved having a kit, because instead of dealing with multiple numbers, now you're dealing with one. So it would be effective throughout the company in inventory management, on the line, purchasing, invoicing, and the list goes on.
Okay, great.
I have been a part of multiple lean manufacturing teams that have studied that, and it's interesting to see how they actually assign cost to the steps that the applicators have to take to go to various different inventory locations and then come back to their station with the decal they need. Having the kit, having all the decals within one kit eliminates those steps and does add efficiency for sure.
From either of you, what impact can kitting have on inventory, both raw material and finished goods?
Well, as we said before, the impact is that now you're just dealing with one part number, simplifying the process for everyone. Also, it would save valuable floor space. Everything would come in packaged in nice plastic bags, envelopes, or containers, and the parts would be protected from any shop environments as well.
Okay.
It does increase cleanliness and decreases the packaging materials involved in the inventory.
Great. Tobbias, sometimes manufacturers produce equipment for both the U.S. and foreign markets. What do you see customers doing with foreign language decals for a kit?
That is something we see often. Jamie brought up the core kit concept with model mixes. It also applies to foreign languages. We can construct a core kit that would accommodate for all the common parts between various different languages that the manufacturer produces, and then Those common parts would typically involve decals that just have pictos on them. Pictos are just the symbols, and they're void of any verbiage, so that they can be common amongst different foreign languages. Then you would have to keep the foreign languages inventoried separately, and you could add those to the kit at different times, depending on usage. If usage of the foreign languages are comparable to the usage of the English versions, we can design a kit separately for each foreign language, which would then the common parts would exist in different part numbers as kits, but they would have to, if their usages are high, we would still use the separate foreign languages as well.
And you identified that the pictos are the universal symbols.
Yes, those are regulated by ANSI, and a lot of countries have gone to that format where we don't need verbiage or words. We could just tell the message we're trying to state by symbols. This one in particular gives you just a symbol, which we call a picto. It states the seatbelt usage, and then gives you a reason why. It's the threat of rollover.
What other challenges have you seen with kitting?
Well, there's initial setup for kitting. We suggest that the manufacturer would have to have blueprints drawn with all the part numbers on that blueprint associated with it. Each part number would need its own blueprint too. And this, by having everything set up in the beginning, it would simplify the process for the manufacturer and the supplier.
There is quite a substantial initial design that's required, and you should be able to work with your decal supplier, or any manufacturer should be able to work with their decal supplier to move through that design process to make sure that they're oriented on a sheet properly, or that the blueprints are drawn that go in there with the package. One other challenge that they run into that also takes some upfront consideration is a process of what to do if there's missing pieces, and how to accommodate for missing pieces of the kit for one reason or another.
It appears very apparent that Murami Graphics' expertise in kitting is a significant value and benefit for your customers that are interested in doing kitting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We sure have learned from our experiences over the years with it.
What are some of the reasons you've seen pieces missing from a kit?
Damage is what we've seen most frequently cause a missing piece, whether that damage occurs in the shipping of the kit or during the application of the individual parts. It can just be that the adhesive is compromised because it's stuck in the wrong spot, or it's touched by hands, or that they folded it in half, or a multitude of different applicator issues that could cause a piece to be damaged. But then it's compromised that whole kit, whether it's a bag or whether it's all up on a sheet. You have all these other pieces then that are still good, but you've got that one missing piece or one damaged piece that has to be accommodated for. Another reason can be theft. Sometimes to accommodate a damaged piece, they steal a piece from the other one, or for other reasons, a piece is stolen off of a kit and then it compromises again that kit, and it's not good.
What types of processes can be put in place in order to reduce that inventory shrinkage?
That shrinkage can be accommodated by a process. It does take some design ahead of time, again, to think about that and try to address it proactively rather than reactively when it happens. There can be processes to inventory each individual part number of the kit separately, which some of our clients would see that as negating some of the benefits you get from using the kit. But it is a possible way to set those up, and maybe those inventory locations don't get touched for any other purposes except for replacement parts, and they are kept at minimums. There's different processes that we could address that with. Another way to accommodate missing pieces without having to set up each individual piece in your inventories is to just have those individual pieces orderable by your system. And then there's quick response systems that you could set up with your supplier where you can order small quantities, 1s and 2s, for the purpose of replacement of the individual pieces that are involved in the kits. And then on the supplier's end, they would have to keep those readily able to be produced individually and shipped in a quick response to accommodate missing pieces. That also requires some forethought and setup of a process to handle a whole process for the rest of the parts when a piece comes up missing. If you've got the rest of the parts on the sheet or the rest of the parts in the bag, there needs to be a way to hold those for the incoming order of the one piece that was missing. Or if you do go with the route of inventorying those parts separately, once one piece is compromised or missing, you could take the rest of the pieces of the kit and issue them individually back into their inventory locations for use later.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here with a quick overview of what we discussed. You guys have shown some examples of different types of decal kits and how kits can be used to increase efficiency for your customers. You talked about quality benefits and concerns of the kitting process as a whole. The discussion covered logistics and inventory pros and cons when integrating kits. And probably the most important part, a need for upfront design and organization in order to successfully implement and benefit the kitting process. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact Jamie or Tobbias at ask_Muir@muirgraphics.com. I'd like to thank you for joining us, and thank you also to Tobbias and Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.